Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Journey Live. How are you this beautiful evening? Join us in Miami TV, wherever it is that you're watching us, in MiamiTV.com. Come and say hello. Hi, Jim, Daniel, Mark. Welcome, guys. Welcome to our members. Don't forget, you can subscribe anytime to our site, either MiamiTV.com. I'm checking that everything's online. MiamiTV.com or SunBeachTV.com. We have so many shows on demand, and we have just resumed our live Do You Dares from Straw Hat. So, of course, that's everybody's favorite. Anyway, if you want to talk about anything in particular, please let me know. And we're also on Miami TV. We're in Blog for members, and we're in Miami TV for public. So, yeah, join us. ¿Cómo estamos, amigos? Bienvenidos. Espero de que estén muy bien. Únanse a nosotros en Miami TV. Hoy abiertos a temas como siempre. Espero de que estén muy bien. Yo haciendo un poco de tiempo porque aquí no me pusieron el chat, así que no tengo para leer. Pero bueno, vamos a empezar de todos modos. Si tienen algo en particular que quieren discutir el día de hoy en nuestro Jenny Live, bienvenidos. Y les quería decir también de que hemos resumido nuestras grabaciones /vivos desde el bar de Tulum de Straw Hat, y estaremos ahí los viernes alrededor de las 11 de la noche en vivo e indirecto para nuestros miembros con los retos de Te Atreves. Seguimos interesante, las personas siempre teniendo el wow factor, ¿no? De que, wow, una chica desnuda, y luego, ¿y por qué estás desnuda? ¿Y qué sabes de la energía sexual? Y, oh, ahora entendemos por qué estás desnuda. Pero es interesante ver cómo la gente va teniendo pues sus respuestas, ¿no? Muy bien, vamos a responder entonces este email en particular que tenemos por aquí. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about this email that I have over here. Open relationships. Let's talk about open relationships tonight. What do you think? Positive, negative? How is it negative and how is it positive? Hello. ¿Qué va você querer, Jan? Hi, guys. Very nice eyes, love. Hi, loves. Yay, I have the chat. Hi, Sam. You were the first to chat. Hello. Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estamos? Bienvenidos. Muy bien, ¿qué opinan ustedes sobre las relaciones abiertas? Creo que me han dejado los comentarios también en los mensajes de YouTube, y dije, ya se los responderé y no les he respuesto. Así que hoy les toca. Relaciones abiertas. Esto viene desde un email. Both my wife and I have expressed interest in wanting to have sex with other people, but we haven't discussed it seriously yet. Would it really work? How do I approach this and say it's something that I actually want to try? I think we got married maybe a little bit too soon, too young. We still have some urges and craziness that we want to get out of our system. Urges and craziness? Oh no. Not to mention living in a big city with beautiful people everywhere. Any thoughts or idea, Jenny? Thank you. Bueno, ¿qué opinan? Dicen, yo y mi esposa y yo hemos tenido un interés por tener una relación abierta. Hemos querido tener hoy en día quizás sexo con otras personas, pero no lo hemos discutido abiertamente. No sabemos si realmente es algo que fuera a funcionar. ¿Cómo puedo empezar este tipo de conversación con mi pareja y pensar o decidir si es algo que realmente quiero hacer o no? Creo que nos hemos casado demasiado temprano, quizás un poco jóvenes. Todavía tenemos esas ganas y esa locura que queremos sacarnos de encima, de sacar de nuestros sistemas esas ganas que nos quedaron, y sin mencionar de que estamos también viviendo en una ciudad donde hay muchas personas bonitas. ¿Dónde? ¿Miami? Welcome, guys. I was just advertising this channel on another channel. Ooh, nice, Ernest. Thanks, man. Bueno, so I think that... Ooh, lost you. I think that there's so many couples going through this. There's so many couples going through the thought of actually starting either threesomes or starting maybe to have somebody else involved in the relationship or even swinging. And a lot of you guys have asked me, like, is this positive? Is it negative? And there's always a fine line for these situations. Now, getting the craziness out of you, I don't think it's the best idea. If you think about it, these are just urges. So if you are recently married and you still have these urges with other people, then yeah, you're right. You probably did get married a little bit too soon because that shouldn't happen when you are a newlywed. I mean, you shouldn't be thinking about spending time with other people if you've been together for not too long. So maybe reconsider this or have a talk with the person that you did get married to and see what they think. I don't think it's shameful to speak about these things. I think, if anything, I've always told you guys that it's important to be open about these topics because it's worse when you actually do hold them in, and then it turns out that maybe many years later you're not in a relationship that you feel comfortable in, and you feel like your life just kind of passed you by. Okay, so be open about it, talk about it, but let's address bit by bit. Okay, why are you having urges? Why are you having yearnings to be with somebody else that is not your couple, especially if you just started, especially if you haven't been married for too long. And that is the first thing that I think you need to get out of the plate. Did you pick the right person? Are you married with the right person? Do you love this person? Because it's very rare that these kind of thoughts or ideas would come to your mind if you pick the right person. Now, fantasy-wise, same thing. These fantasies, unless you actually want to try them out with the person you married, if they just kind of pop up in your mind, it could be maybe some negative influence that is trying to influence you to destroy a good marriage. Or B, it could be that you did make a mistake and you're not married to the right person, because the moment that you do click and you realize it's the right person, you're not going to want to share them with anybody. You're not going to want to, these thoughts are going to go away. And if you do have fantasies, you are going to want to fulfill them with them involved. Okay? So beautiful people, there could be beautiful people everywhere, but when you actually meet the right person, when you fall in love for real, there could be millions of beautiful people around you, and you're gonna be a man is gonna be a man, a woman is gonna be a woman. You can get urges, but you're gonna realize how important it is that connection. You're going to realize how important the connection is, and the physical part is kind of just going to fade away. Believe it or not, yes, this does happen. Okay, so I think, if anything, start to evaluate why are you prioritizing the thoughts of being with somebody else when you should be totally crazy with the person that you're with now. Again, especially if it's only been a couple of years, okay, or less. I mean, it doesn't necessarily say how long. Let me go with some comments over here. Open relationships, David says, aren't those considered a fetish? Maybe. Could be, yeah, why not? Kind of like the story that I told you about the guy who set me up with his wife, pretending to be his neighbor. Hey, to each their own, right? Of course, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, there's no right or wrong with these situations, guys. For the tax benefit, getting the craziness out creates jealousy. Yeah, I think I don't know, that phrase "getting the craziness out" was like, you should. That's not something you should be feeling like you need to get your crazy out. It's like, it's not a feeling that you should have in mind, to actually be unfaithful to your partner. So the first thing that comes to mind is just that you probably rushed into this relationship. Anyway, but let's go with the main comment, which is what most of you actually do want to know, which is, well, is it negative or positive to involve the third party into the relationship? And it really depends. I think if you guys really have this open, this idea of an open relationship where you know your priorities and you're both setting rules where none of your feelings get hurt, then it can't hurt. But there's really, really a fine line when it comes to the situations. The fine line of actually making a mistake and then you can't go back from that mistake. So if I were to give you an advice, I would say, keep it between you two. If you really must try and involve a third, or maybe you really want to go out and try out a fantasy of yours, then make sure you pick someone that has good energy, pick someone that is, allow your partner to pick the one. Usually the woman would be the one to pick the person, if it's a woman or if it's a man, right? So that way you don't get any backlash later. And remember that women are very insecure, so if you do allow them to pick, let's say, the woman for your threesome, they're probably not going to pick someone that they feel insecure around. And always remember that your partner comes first. Okay, so there has to be a safe word. There has to be a dialogue before anything happens. I read the chat. Just give me a couple minutes, and just keep it in mind, right? That if the person says I'm not comfortable, then you need to stop and continue on, or not continue on, because I feel like a lot of people actually do get to the point where they're curious about threesomes, right? They're curious about adding somebody else or swinging, but then the moment that they actually go out and try it, they could end up hurting their relationship really, really bad, and you can't come back from that. So I've found, and I've met swingers, for example, that when the woman suffers from something like the shield, and if you guys remember, we talked about the shield, actually I think yesterday, and we've talked about it so many times. Where if your wife has a lack of sensitivity, then it's very possible that you're going to be that kind of couple that needs a little spice in their relationship to get things, spice with somebody else, to get things interesting again, because you found yourself being bored in your sex life. So these are the cases where I think it would be a little bit more of a defined line that we were talking about, right? It would be a little bit more of the exception where, well, if you're doing it for causes to keep your relationship sane and together, then that's the fine line where we say you're not going to generate negativity if everything is done proper and, with education, I guess we could say, with respect and 100% putting your partner's feelings on the line firsthand. All right, and just very careful, you guys. You can't just allow anybody into your life. Remember, people have traumas, people have problems, and the moment you think, oh, we're going to have some fun, and then all of a sudden maybe you leave out of there with some really bad vibes, it's not going to be worth it in the end. Let's go up a little bit so I can read the chat. Let's see. I was advertising. Oh, I read. Okay, let's go down. Hello, Jenny. I enjoy hoovering. What's hoovering? Interesting. It stops my depression, so something doesn't have to be spiritual to raise your spirits. Say hi to Ayla. She's not with us, but sure. Good evening. Because that's how I am technically. I'm a good guy, but always going after the wrong type of woman. So right now, I like this girl, but I don't know if you're the same way. If I'm this, wait, what do I have to do with the girl that you like? I think you might have written something above, and that was your second comment. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to see it. Chicos, bueno, estamos hablando un poquito sobre involucrar a otra persona en tu relación. Oh, there it is. Hi, gorgeous. Doing good. Pretty much looking for Bigfoot. No, that's somebody else. Sorry. What do you tell the kids? What do you tell the kids, like, when you're adding somebody else to your relationship? I don't think your children need to be advised when it comes to these topics. I think I don't think it's a good example to show your kids that you have an open relationship, honestly. Because let me be blunt, and I know I'm going to hurt some people's feelings, and I'm sorry before I say it. But for the most part, people that do involve third parties into their relationship, unless it's a one-time thing and a fantasy that you wanted to play out, right? For the most part, let's say 98% of the time, it's because there is a lack of something in the relationship. All right, so they try to fill that void by adding somebody else along. And like I said, sometimes it plays out great, and sometimes it could really, really turn out being a huge mistake. So you really need to be careful in how this plays out. I think communication is key, but for the most part, try everything else beforehand. Before you even think about having an open relationship, try how to excite each other, right? And how to have amazing moments without the need of anybody else involved. And if you're bored, if you can't find anything else, then definitely go out and find, I don't know, sensual massages or tantra or food, play, I guess you could say. There's so many things you could do. You could do role play. There's so many activities that you could do without involving somebody else. And you can maybe actually involve somebody else, but not necessarily in an intimate situation where that's where role play plays along. But I think imagination is key. So if you're finding yourself having a hard time actually getting to the arousal part, because usually when this happens to couples, it's because the woman starts taking a long time in getting aroused, and the man has no problem, and that is because of the shield. That is because of the lack of what do you call it, the lack of sensitivity, right? And the man gets bored, and the woman gets bored as well, because then all of a sudden having sex becomes a job and not an actual pleasure situation where it's like, hey, let's get together to really enjoy our bodies and enjoy every inch of our bodies and enjoy ourselves and discover the possibilities of transcending aside from this physical body, which is what sex really is all about. And I think people really don't get that. I was, several people that we interviewed I'm hardworking and I'm shy of my body. It's normal to be shy of your body. I recommend definitely walking around naked in your home. I'll always say that, so try it out. We went to Straw Hat last week, and there was, I think, 2 couples there that were celebrating their anniversary. One of them was like 28 years married, and of course I asked them if they've ever tried tantra, and they said, "What's that?" And then there was another couple, and they're like, "What's that?" Like, "Wow, sounds really interesting. We're gonna try it out." So there's couples that have been together for so long, and they'll try out kinky stuff, right? Usually even fetish stuff. But tantra isn't really something exciting that people put into the table into saying, hey, let's try this, because the moment that you think about tantra, you think about something boring. You think about, oh, meditation and sex. That's lame, right? Like, I don't know how to meditate. And, when you think of sex, they just think hardcore is something really moving or exciting, or, what they see in the porn videos, right? But anyway, in the long run, all that matters is that whatever you're doing, and it works for you, okay? But the thing about Tantra is that the more you discover yourself through the act of sex with the person that you love, you will be discovering new sensations. So it's never going to be the same, just like I'm sure it's never the same anyway, but it's never going to be the same as what you're thinking it's going to be like, where it's like, how boring, no movement, just meditation, sit in there, wow, no, let me do something else and go wild and crazy. So that's not really the point of it. The point of Tantra is actually expanding your mind, expanding your brain, opening your mind to new horizons, opening your mind to that connection of the soul of the other person where you might have not really connected with before. There's been couples that have been married for the longest time, and they even though everything they've done works, they have everything in their plate to be able to have that strong connection, that spiritual connection, and transcend from their body, but they don't do it because nobody's ever told them that this exists. So we've been taught that sex is just one activity, and that's it, the Kama Sutra, right? But everything else aside from that, seems a little boring, but just because that's how our mind has been programmed. What I was trying to say, Jenny, the other night, that you were talking about nice guys feeling slashed, and that's why I asked about this girl that I like, but it's okay if you didn't understand me. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. I'm like, you just said, remember the last time we were talking, right, okay, I understand. Monogamy is not so perfect. When monogamous, people can get extremely jealous. I personally think it varies. Be monogamous, but only if it makes you happy. Thank you, Anthony. Home nudism. Yes, try home nudism. It's definitely going to help you out with that insecurity. When I was a kid, I found out someone besides my dad was sleeping with my mom. I would have been devastated. right? Because the thing is that we believe in this happily ever after, right? And the princess and the prince and the frog. Why is there a frog involved? And that's actually like that in a perfect world and in a perfect life where there's you never made mistakes, there's no negativity, there's no shield, there is no sequels of consequences of mistakes that you've done that affected you sexually, you will never probably have a thought of being with somebody else than your partner. In fact, in a perfect world, we all get married to the first person we've ever slept with. In a perfect world. If everybody in the world would do that and actually fall in love and not make a mistake into into it being the wrong person, let's say, but actually falling in love and staying with that person for the rest of their lives, right? So having no consequences of other past traumas and shields. That couple right there is pure positiveness. So you're never going to think about sharing that person because it's the most beautiful, perfect person in the world. And you're not going to need to because your connection and your energy is so pure together that you're not going to feel the need of actually trading them with anybody else. Now, when the idea of trading partners comes in, it's usually because what you have in your mind right now, it's probably not being enough. Okay, so the moment that you start thinking that you're getting bored, it's because that's consequences from a past, consequences from mistakes, which it's totally normal. So probably, I don't know, 50, 60% of the population has that situation because, well, nobody, like we always say, nobody talks about sexual energy. Nobody talks about the caring of how important this energy is. And when we think about ourselves when we're kids, right, and we're 100% pure, we're so creative all the time, right? Like we can learn things so fast and we're constantly up and running and we have energy for miles. And that's because the connection from our creative energy, which is our sexual energy in our brain, is a fluid channel. There is absolutely nothing blocking you. There is absolutely nothing intervening from the energy that you're absorbing and that you're channeling. So your brain is constantly awake, your brain is constantly feeding information from the universe. And the moment you match that purity of an energy with somebody else, it's just like the Big Bang. So it's important to understand that concept, to understand where it is that I'm coming from to begin with, right? So just keep that in mind of why I explain all this to you. Trading partners, I think, only increases the chances of one of the participants failing for one of the new partners. Ooh, that's actually very good, David. Because if you're looking for new partners already, then the attraction to each other is really not that strong. Only my opinion. No, you're actually 100% on point. Like I said, it's usually one person in the relationship that has the lack of something. And then that whatever that is, if it's a shield, for example, or if it's lack of emotions, it's contagious. So your partner's going to feel it right away. So, for example, if you're a man, and if you're, I'm talking about men because women are usually the ones that suffer the shield. So if you're a man and you're working with your wife, right, and you see that throughout the years, every time they take longer and longer to get aroused, sorry. It's because of these consequences of the bad use of the physical body through sex while they were while they were going through the development stage of their body. All right. So what happens then, and what do your emotions in your mind actually feel? Oh, well, man, every time you think about sex, you're not like crazy to go and jump into it. You know that there has to be a prep before because it takes your partner a long time to get aroused. Now, if there is no shield and if the human body is working accordingly and perfectly without any consequences, which is rare today, but in a perfect world, right? It's never going to be a job. You're never going to have to work to get your wife excited because you're both going to be constantly excited at the love that you have for each other. So it's like you're going to live in this constant arousal all the time. So the moment that any of you just touch each other or be near each other, you're just going to get super, super wet. Okay. And that is the body in its 100% functional, without any consequences state. Okay. All right. Let's go up a bit so I can read. Okay, I read that one. Let's go down. If it makes you happy, of course, do whatever you want. Jenny, how conservative are you? What do you think about the idea that a woman's main purpose in life is to have and raise children? Oh, Zachary, no, I don't like that idea. I don't like that idea because I'm not one that has had the mother like feeling yet, I guess. I don't think I'll ever have children. And I think today, in today's age, there's every time more and more people deciding that they don't want to have children. But I also think that for the majority of these people, it's mainly because the world is so shitty today, unfortunately, that it's scary to bring pureness to this world. Maybe when everything changes, which we're not too far from it, but until that happens, it's a danger zone. So just wait up. But the idea that the purpose of women is just to have and raise children, I think it's a very important purpose for women. You know, we are the reproductive ones. We are the ones that give birth. Men and women, we have the same importance, of course. But women, if that feeling comes to mind and most women have it, right, where it's like, I want to be a mom, then great, yeah, this is nature calling you, so go for it. I mean, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for both, right, men and women, then the world would go extinct. And isn't that what they were talking about, like Elon Musk and everybody, that we're actually going in the process of maybe depopulation? I wouldn't be so concerned, but we'll see what happens. I once had a girlfriend. She insisted on meeting everyone I know. Oh, is that normal? No, hell no, that's not normal. Some people I know are embarrassing. Relationships should be private. I don't think relationships should be private. I think if you're sure of the person that you're involving yourself with, you shouldn't be embarrassed to show them to your friends, and vice versa. If you decide these are my friends, then you need to really stick by the thought and idea that these are the people that I've chosen to be around me. But I don't think it's normal that somebody's asked, like, let me meet every single person you know. Is it so bad? I don't think it's so bad either. I think it's also a way of getting to know you better, you know? So it's like, by knowing who surrounds you, they can also know how you think. They can know, you know, what you're into, and it's not such a red flag, but this should be something that just comes out naturally, right? Where you actually are the one to say, hey, babe, do you want to meet my friends, or do you want to meet, you know, at least people that are important to you? And if you don't say it, then the person kind of pushing that situation to the relationship could be a little bit of a red flag, because that's something that you need to get to together, right? There's so many things that you could do, that they also try roller coaster to get some thrills. Oh yeah, I mean, there's couples that have, this was in Crazy News that we used to read. I remember people having sex and like jumping out of a, of a parachute or on an airplane, or yeah, there's so many things you could do with each other to have fun and bring that spice and that thrill back to you. No worries. Now, so going back to telling the kids, yeah, no, I don't think open relationships should be something that is a norm to younger people, because I think that it's more of a flaw in the system of that relationship than a virtue. It's not, I don't applaud it when somebody says we have an open relationship. It's always like, listen, if this is what works for you and what's made you stayed married and what makes you feel like you're stronger together, amazing. You know, you need to do what makes it work, you know? But once you come out with these kind of lifestyles to younger people, they're raised with the idea that it's an option that they have, and almost like, and with all due respect, almost the same when we were talking about transgenderism. when it's made as a propaganda to younger people, they also take it as, oh, so I have an option to choose my gender, and this isn't something that should be given as an option. It should just be like, these things exist, and but you need to do and feel whatever makes you happy and whatever you feel to do. But a lot of these lifestyles come about because of something just not working, in mental health or in traumas that have happened, or in, of course, another percentage of people, maybe this is something that they were born with, and they feel like they're another gender, right? But when it's not that, it's just a trend. So if it's a trend to have open relationships, and we make it a trend in a propaganda to younger people, same thing, right? Like, they're going to be raised seeing that, oh, why would I be just with one person? Let me go ahead and try this out since I'm young, and then they actually end up generating negativity. So it's a difference when an adult decides that, hey, I want to open a relationship because we're lacking the spark, or there's a shield and there's no feelings. So we need to add something so we can stay together. Then just doing it from the get-go, like it's a sport. So it kind of changes the whole purpose of why, of making it, let's say, less negative. Trading partners, I think, only increases the chances of one of the participants failing. Okay, yeah. So going back to that, absolutely. It's always one person that has the lack of something that makes the other person feel, maybe we should start thinking of adding a third to our relationship. But I repeat, and I know it's repetitive, but I repeat, if it works for you, go for it. My brother and one of my sisters married their high school sweetheart, and they're still together. Kids growing up and are gone, and everyone is still happy. Both have at least 30 years of marriage until their belt. See, that's why I said, in a perfect world, that should be every single one of us, and the world would be paradise. No joke, paradise. It would mean no mental illness, no traumas, no shields, no lack of sensitivity. Swinging probably wouldn't exist. And the world would be a much better place because people would be only generating positivity. Now, I'm not saying that people that do these activities generate only negativity. Remember, like I said, there is a fine line. So if the intention is pure, if the intention is for the purpose of keeping a healthy relationship and everything is, and you choose people that don't have toxic energy, then yeah, you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna be in like the negative jar. But you have to be careful, because playing with sexual energy that's negative just for fun can destroy you in so many levels. All right, my loves, we're going to continue tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed a little more. We will see you tomorrow in another Jenny Live. Don't forget to subscribe to MiamiTV.com. And if you have any topics or questions, please send them over at jenny@miamitv.com. Kisses. Good night, guys.